Hey, TRTT, thank you for coming back for another video. Today what we're going to be discussing is another hot topic from Kevin Samuels. He is going to be talking to a modern woman more about, what's going on her relationship status. But the title of the video is that men don't make enough to have a woman. So let's just jump right into this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe, share this video, and let's have this channel grow.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
How old are you?
23.
23. Okay.
Got a little accent going.
So, you have a question, or are we going to talk about the topic?
No, I'm Colombian. Hello?
Yeah, you're Colombian. How are you?
Yes, and I just wanted to, I do kind of have a question. So, I do have a lot of Black American friends.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Females and males. And I always hear the male complaining about, we out of North America because women ain't treating us right. Women are so dull. They don't want to be feminine. They think they're too independent. Like all of them, most of the Black men I know that are living in Colombia are telling me the same reason. But I also have good female friends that tells me a lot that they really can't just afford being with a woman who is independent. So obviously I do kind of hear both of the side, but I'm very curious.
All right, so my input on that is what I've stated in other videos and what I'll also state moving forward. Don't listen to people who don't have what you want. So if you're looking for a relationship, do not jump on this men can't afford it or they don't make enough money. I mean, because if that's the case, you're never going to be in a relationship, right? But at the same time, if you have men sitting here telling you that women have a hard time being in their feminine energy, they have a hard time not being masculine, if the men are the ones who are hiring and they're reaching out and you want a man, kind of come to that middle ground and understand what a man's saying. Don't just be all over there with all what the women are saying. I think that this is a key opportunity for people to understand that if you want a man, you kind of need to figure out what men want and make yourself valuable to a man. Don't go off what women are telling you men might want because that's all warped. But we're back.
Okay. How old are you?
23, I think.
That's already
23? Okay, so you got men saying that women are too independent and that's why we're leaving. And you got women saying, oh, these men are too broke to afford or don't make enough money to afford a woman.
Yeah.
What does your gut tell you? Does your gut tell you that the men are more accurate about what's really going on, or the women are more accurate about what's really going on?
Yeah, are men more accurate about what men want? Or are women more accurate about what men want? I mean, that should be an easy one, in my opinion.
Honestly, I've never been in the United States. I do have a lot of American friends, but it's really difficult for me to believe just out of people's opinion. Yes.
Okay, you're in Colombia, right?
Yes, but also, sorry to interrupt you, but also I know sometimes they will say things like, oh yeah, only because I know Latinos are very sexualized, but also Latinas are allowed to, they have an attitude and they kind of sassy sometimes.
Everybody has something, but let's stay on the topic of, are the men lying or are the women lying? Are the men exaggerating or are the women exaggerating? Okay. If the measure of a man being able to afford a wife is a woman being a stay-at-home mother and never having to work, then that only means 10% of men can afford to get married.
True.
That's
because you have to understand only 10% of men around about to make over $100,000 a year. So with that being said, even at $100,000, now in 2023, that's not a whole lot of money. So when I was younger and I was a kid back in the 90s, $100,000 was different. Housing market was different. Prices of gas were different. Groceries were different. And people's living experiences were different. And then there wasn't TikTok and Instagram and people feeling like they had to fulfill their life through showing everybody things they're doing. People didn't have to put on fronts. But now one of my friends and I were talking about it. I mean, you need to be comfortably up in 253 if you're going to be living in a nice house, if you're going to have somebody stay at home, you're going to be driving the vehicles that people want to drive. It's still doable with $100,000, but people are like, oh my gosh, that's when people feel like I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I'm a slave and I can't do anything, which is what our grandmothers and great-grandmothers did. They didn't have all these crazy cars. Their loyalty was to the family. Everybody else's loyalty wants to be to the materialistic stuff and not their legacy. But
so, are those women willing to share their men?
Yeah.
See, women are saying that the reason we won't submit or the reason we can't be feminine is because men today don't make enough money for us to not work. Okay. Well, if that's the case, why don't these women get with guys who can afford to do that? Can they get the kind of men they say they need?
Yeah, so that 1%er, that $1 million guy or that $500,000 guy, he can have multiple families and afford it, but everybody wants everything. So if they had that, ain't no way people are going to want to share it comfortably. I mean, I can understand it. Men are differently operated than women are. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying I get the logic behind what he's saying.
Do they look the part? Are they in shape? Are they feminine? Are they childless?
But they also talking about the inability to be with a woman who is too independent. Like,
well, see that, but my question is, the women talk about the men that they don't want.
Yeah.
But what do they say about the men they do want? Can they get those men?
Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. See, what women do is they talk about the men that they don't want to justify why they're alone.
Yeah, they make it like this is the norm, and it's not always the norm.
The kind of men that they want don't worry about what men that they don't want are doing. Doesn't that seem like it takes a lot of effort to complain about? I mean, it's like going to a restaurant and you're a vegetarian. You don't spend your time looking at the dishes with meat in them. That's a waste of time.
I mean, I will say this. Kevin is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I would have never thought about that analogy, but that's absolutely true. You don't go waste your time looking at things you don't want. So the women who are doing all this complaining about men and the men don't make money, those aren't women. Those are not the men that they want anyways. But they don't know how to get the men that they do want. So what they do is, I'm single, so what I'm going to do is instead of talk about what I need to do to make myself better or what the mistakes that I've made that disqualify me from the man that I want, I'm just going to talk trash about men who I, don't want anyways. Just going to talk trash about them and make them feel inferior, try to do that, and it just doesn't work.
Even eat that. You're like, you don't complain about how the steak is cooked. What do you care if they have filet or prime rib? You're a vegetarian.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, but that's how these women talk about men, as if that's the only thing on the menu, because they can't get the kind of men they want.
Absolutely correct.
Now,
it makes complete
sense.
The
men say that the women are too masculine, too independent. Well, if you have a restaurant and you want to stay in business and grow your business, you have to give the people who are buying your product what they want. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Men purchase marriage.
So a lot of people feel like that's a hard concept to grasp, but men have control over marriage. And the reason that's a fact is because how many of you ladies have gotten down on one knee and proposed successfully? Yeah. So men control that. If I want to marry you, I'm going to propose. What stops a man from marrying a woman is a man. He has to make the decision to marry. Now, the woman can say no, but the man has control over the question. Now, if I am that person, the business, I'm that. If you want to be married, you're going to have to give the man who's in the position to ask what he's wanting. I mean, you have to give him what he's wanting in that case if you want to be married. A lot who say, yes, I want to get married, but what I'm going to do is marry somebody and I'm not going to give them anything they want. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But
men are saying, you're not what we want. What are your options? Give them what they want. Be by yourself. Or go get a woman.
That's your options.
Those are the three options, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, you got a consumer saying the product doesn't meet my standards. Give me a better product and I'll buy it. That's the men. On the other hand, you got women are complaining about something that's on the menu that they say they don't eat, but yet they can't, but they're not ordering a vegetarian anything. In short, the women are full.
Yeah, in short, you just have to be able to see it. Once again, I'll always say this in my videos if I have an opportunity. Men, this is why it's important that you play a strong role in your daughters and your sons' lives. Your sons will need guidance through their life, but your daughters also need your perspective on life. Now, it's nothing wrong. People can do what they want to do. Families separate, but as far as a young man growing up without his father, there is consequences associated with that as far as lineage. So, your daughters really need you as well as your sons. And this is why a daughter needs you. Is because if they don't have you there, they're getting all their perspective from one side. And if their side is not positive and pro-marriage, you see how warped this thinking can be.
That's a problem.
Okay, so what about when they come here to Colombia, especially to Colombia, they come and look for a wife, the woman of their dream who is very submissive, feminine, that can cook for them and be like a family woman. Okay, Latinas are kind of like that, right? But they come here, they still be playing, like, let's say they find a nice woman who is able to do all the things he's looking for, but they still come in here playing. And I've seen it. So it's like,
well, okay, hold on. Again.
First part is I do think that she stated Latinas are kind of like that. That was her opinion. My observation is I see the immigrants who I do know, their families are still tight-knit. People stick together in the families. As far as it goes, the same thing. If you are of Asian descent, they keep it in the family. They keep the family together. I don't go around seeing that as far as large scale divorce for people who've immigrated. I also don't see that in the Hispanic population as well as the Asian. So just trying to cross my T's and dot my I's that my people are the ones who kind of struggle with that a little bit. The divorce rate is very, very high and people act as if men are trash. But like I said, there's still issues in these other cultures, but these other cultures understand that the importance of a family unit and how you grow and how things can get passed down and the importance of having a mom and a dad there. For some reason, it's just been a little warped in my area, in my background, my people, you know what I'm saying?
Just like I can pull up countless men who go there and meet their wives. Colombia, Thailand. So what are we judging on? I mean, it's like women always talk about the problem. And whatever consumes your thoughts controls your life. Why do you hear women talking about, when do you hear women talking about relationships in positive, hopeful terms?
It's the norm that people complain, unfortunately, and I cannot stand being around complainers. I mean, so if you go on to Yelp, put a review, people typically jump online to bash a company and let everyone know how trash this is, how horrible their situation was or their circumstances. But for the most part, if a person's happy, they don't spread the word. For the most part, people don't, which more people should. So you typically hear about how relationships have fallen through and how divorce rate is this and divorce rate is that, but you don't hear about the successes and how the family is important and how being together as a family is something that's needed. We just need to focus a lot more on that and a lot less on the destructive part of it. But yet, in our society, we will see how single-parent house homes have so much more negative effects. Increase incarceration rate, increase rate of people being on psych meds, increased rate of people being illiterate, but yet no one wants to be like, hey, maybe we should focus more on marriage. We're just thinking, oh, this isn't working, but let's keep doing it. It's like, you comparing them, but we'll keep these issues of single parent households and not having a nuclear family. We'll keep these issues away because we don't want people to get married. Because if people get married and they understood that they could survive and make it without TikTok, without YouTube, without all the Facebook things, maybe they'll start spending less money. And if they start spending less money, the market's going to be changing, and then the businesses won't be getting rich. I mean, it's a lot that goes into this, but
my circle of friends, they do.
I said women. Women in general. Okay. How would you like to date one of those sour women?
Wouldn't be dateable.
Yeah.
So you can't automatically assume why you're basically saying that if these men find this woman, then they're playing. Well, okay, sure. I'm sure that happens. But that's an oversimplification. I tend to find more guys that when they go down there, they come back and they bring their woman with them. They marry them. But do you hear women in the West talking about relationships in positive ways? And here's the thing. You're a woman. Women tend to try to stay on code with other women. At the end of the day, men are the consumers. You got to give men what they want. Do you think women are giving men what they want?
I think the answer to that is no. And I don't think women are always intentionally giving men what they want. I think that it is another vicious issue. It's another consequence of not having a nuclear family. So women are hearing what men want from women. And if you're in a single parent household, typically it is a broken family with a failed relationship. So you're not getting the most positive outlook on a relationship. That's first. The other thing I would think is that instead of being taught what I can bring to a man or what I should do as a wife, people were being taught what should a man bring to me. He should do this. He should make this. He should make that. And that's not the ideal situation. You're just having a cookie cutter design of what you want a man to be, and any man that falls into that, you're willing to marry him, no matter anything else. But you expect that you're going to bring your damaged self to this relationship and it's going to work. Probably not. I don't think women are giving men what they want in that aspect because they just haven't been taught how to be wives well. And that's very, very important, is to learn how to be a wife and, be able to cooperate with a man. A lot of people are just taught how to be independent, and that's not cooperation. So if you've been alone for 8 years working on yourself, you ain't worked on nothing as far as yourself. Your relationship muscles have just disintegrated. You know how to be independent, how to be by yourself, and how to handle things on your own. You don't know how to work with somebody. You don't know how to do that.
It really depends on many cultures, but I guess it's not like that all over.
Well, let me ask you this question. If women gave men what the men said they wanted, do you think men would marry the women?
You daggone right. You daggone right. It would change a whole lot of things. What men typically want, as I've stated, fit, feminine, cooperative, submissive, childless. That's typical what a man looking for. Could they sacrifice some of them? Yeah, some of them do, but that's typically what a man's looking for. And if you're those things, there wouldn't be much reason to not desire to be in marriages or desire to be connected to someone. However, on the other side, you don't always get that. If a person's not fit, physical is physical. Men are line of sight. We see and we like. If you're not feminine, that means you're masculine. And if you're dealing with a masculine male, it is just, you cannot come at a man who is a lot bigger than you physically with masculine energy and expect to get anything but aggression. So that's my opinion on that. So that was fit, feminine, cooperative. If you don't want to cooperate with every decision, has to be bucked. So if we're going to make a decision, the decision is going to be to go from point A to point D. and we're just going to go straight from point A to point D. And you got a person who says, well, why don't we go to B first? And we can go to B and stay over here, and then we can go over to the D. And how about we just go from A to C and then D? Cooperate. If it's a safe move to go from here to there, cooperate with your husband. Cooperate with somebody. And another key thing is every decision a man makes is not going to be right, but it's not wrong if it's wrong. So my opinion is if I make the best decision today with the best knowledge that I have to make a move, we make a move and we find out that this was not the best move. It should not be a time to attack your man or be like, I told you it was this, I told you it was that. It's time to pat your man on the back and say, you made the best decision that you could with the information you had. If you trust a man and you're behind someone making every decision correctly, that's one of the things I'm going to instill in my son. You will be wrong, but be wrong with confidence and stand up with your back straight and look the wrong in the eye and know that you made the best decision that you possibly could at that time. Fit, feminine, cooperative, submissive. Submissive is not necessarily being like shutting up. It's understanding. And it's being there beside your spouse and submitting to his leadership. So somebody's driving the car. Have you ever driven a car? When I got my license and I was like 16 and I drove in a car with my mom, she could not stand me driving a 5-speed. My hands needed to be at 10 and 2. She couldn't understand one hand off and the feet moving. She didn't trust the driving at all. If that's my mom, that's understandable. But if your wife does not trust the direction that you're going, that's not a submissive situation. That's not cooperative either. So those kind of things go hand in hand. Fit, feminine, cooperative, submissive, childless. Childless is the last one, and that speaks for itself. It's a preference that most men have. You know, the idea of accepting somebody with kids is a decision that a man can make. He can make that for sure. But the modern woman makes it sound like that's an expectation. It's expected for you to understand that I made mistakes when I was younger. It's expected for you to understand that the marital society, the legal system has stacked marriages against you so that if I leave, you could potentially be responsible for children that aren't yours as well as children that might be yours. I mean, it's a lot that goes along with it. So it's easier to not have to deal with that. Now, there's certain situations that people have to deal with that. However, or certain situations where people choose to deal with that. However, that's a preference for a man. And it's okay. I'm not knocking anybody who has kids, but understand it shouldn't be an expectation. If you get a man who is willing to come into your situation with children, with you, and you've already had children, that man should be seen like a god. Like back in the day, a stepdad was something that was amazing. This man has taken on the responsibility of someone else. Somebody else could have failed these kids, and somebody else stepped out of the situation, and I'm going to step in and do the best I can to raise somebody to just go in the right way. That is a badge of honor back then. Now, it's like almost an expectation. How dare you not welcome me and my kids? It's different, completely different. Well, if you give a man what he wants, yeah, they'll marry you.
Oh, don't ask me that.
No. I'm going to ask you that question because it's going to make you have to be honest. If the women were giving the men what they want, would the men marry the woman or would the man choose to stay out here and be single?
Most of the time, they will marry the woman.
That's all we need to know.
Yes.
That's it. There's no but. See, that even diehard woman has come over here in this country and say, yeah, we gave you what you wanted, you'd marry us. There's always a but. There's no but. There's an end of sentence. Give us what we want or buy a dog and die alone. Because these women you're talking about are in the top 10% of earners. They cannot afford to be single. They don't make enough money to have a life from here to the end. See, that's what we don't talk about. We talk about marriage and relationships with middle income women as if they have another option. If a woman does not get married, okay, and she has no children, when she reaches retirement age, who's going to pay for all of that?
See, I've had this discussion with friends as well. There's a lot that goes into being single. A lot changed after women's rights and women were allowed to work. And it's not even unallowed. I think women should be allowed to work. Let me just express that completely out there. Women can be able to do that 100%. However, the market itself changed. So I am basing my price off what people can afford. Now, I can set the price of let's say I'm going to sell this wedding ring right here for $100. And no one is buying it. No one's buying it. Well, now I might drop the price and drop the price and drop the price. And that's what groceries were. Groceries were something that you could afford for one income household. Well, then when the income household doubled, when women were working, well, the prices of groceries can go up. I can make more money off this because people have everything that people have the monies and the funds to be able to spend it. Now what you run into is that it is a challenge to be able to survive off of a one income household unless you're in the top percentage of earners. Now, if you're in the top percentage of earners, you're able to do that fine on your own. But then once you marry and have children, it's still going to be a more stressful situation. $100,000 alone for me is fine. I can pay my bills. I can pay for my vehicles. Student loan debt's good and all that. You can survive with that. You can make it with that. You can live a decent life with that. But when you add a wife who doesn't want to work and then you have children, now the monies have changed. Now the finances have changed. So even $100,000 is not as much as what it used to be. So now it brings us to the part to where people will say, well, if I can't find a man and I'm not going to lower my standards, I'll be fine alone. No. You will be able to live on your own until retirement time. And men are aware of numbers like this. Men know firsthand that if I don't pay my bills, I'll be homeless. And there is no option for men typically. There are homeless shelters, but women's homeless shelters, women and children homeless shelters outnumber men's homeless shelters like freaking 10 to 1. There's drastically more women's homeless shelters than there are men. So the men will be forced to literally living on the streets. Women still have options to, if they don't pay their bills, they can go to a homeless shelter. I mean, I don't knock it. I agree that there needs to be more men's homeless shelters out there as well. But men know firsthand to where you're going to be out there on the street. Who's going to pay these bills? And if you do have kids and you're alone, is that right that you're just going to put the burden of yourself on your children? It's like, oh yeah, I have kids, but when I'm 70 years old and I don't have any money and I can't make ends meet and all that, and I haven't invested anything, well, I'll just move in with my daughter. I'll move in with the grandbabies. Like that's not ideal. And to make that decision now, it's kind of selfish. So men, we do think about that and we're aware of these things. There's a reason why people encourage. I am going to do the same. Encourage my daughter to not be alone because there is significant consequences later in life. Your decisions now follow you later. So even with a person saying, I got pregnant young, I made bad decisions, I was young and I was dumb. Well, what happens when you're 30 or you're 40 and you're still saying, well, I'll be fine alone? Then you're still making dumb decisions that are going to affect you later. Your dumb decisions are going to follow you till the day you die.
She's saved up, right? What she saved or what she's invested, right? That's all she's going to have. When she can't work anymore, what happens when they run out of money and have no kids and no family? Ladies, we are your reason. We're your lifeline. And these governments have divorced you from us because you don't need us for your protection because you have fire, police, all these other things to make you feel like you're safe. You don't need us for food, so you can go to the grocery store, restaurant, so you don't really feel like you need us for provision. Now you're picking men based upon want until you're no longer hot enough to choose.
Yep.
Look at the women 55 years old. Look at the women 50 years old and older. Do you see many 50-year-old, single, happy women?
No.
Thank you.
These women tend to be the cool aunts, right? They're single. They probably don't. If they don't have kids, they happen to be the aunt that shows up. That's fine, and everyone's, having a good time. But then it just gets a little bit weird the aunt keeps getting older, the kid's getting older, so now, you know, the aunt's, 20-year-old nieces and nephews, and just now waiting on them to have kids so they can be relevant in the kid's life again. I mean, it's really not a good situation. I love being a parent. Having my children is great. My son's growing up, and he's not my friend. His father first. Second is, it's a process trying to shape him into a young man and get him to understand. Prime example, my son and I, we were talking, and then he was going on and on and on, and I asked him a direct question. Son, did you take the trash out? And he says, Dad, I was going to take the trash out, and then I got called over to here, and then Mom, stop. I asked you a direct question, just give me a direct answer. This is how men need to speak to each other. Did you take the trash out, yes or no? And he said no. And I said, you need to go ahead and take the trash out, period. My daughter, on the other hand, I had asked her, hey, honey, have you gotten all your laundry and things put away? And she says, Dad, I was going to. I haven't had a chance to. I was, going to finish my homework first, and then I had to go do my hair and all that. And I'm like, all right, so just go ahead and get it done when you're done. Women think different than men. I expect her to think different being a woman. I still want her to answer a direct question. The answer was no. But there was some story back to it. But there's a difference between raising each one. I just wanted to throw that in there.
The future. That's the future. And conversely, there are a lot of men over the age of 40 who are single and ecstatic.
Yeah.
So
I'm 37 right now, and I'm married. But a lot's changed from 37 to 23. A lot's changed. For the good, I think.
To answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. See, a lot of women will go back and try this whole, well, it's the men. It's always the men. It's always the men. Okay. Well, even if it is the men, you're still going to have to get the men what they want.
All right, everyone. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. I think that it is not a money situation to why women don't have men or men don't make enough money. I think it is basically a fit for duty situation. You want a job. You want a man. You qualify yourself to be able to get that job. You're going to have to qualify yourself to get that man. That age of Disney to where the man's going to climb the castle and sneak in there, and there's all these skeletons around from the dragon, and then finally the one's going to get to her, and you're going to get to this woman, and you're going to give her a kiss, and she's going to be Prince Charming. However, that's the idea that people have been given. But for a guy, it's like you'll do all that, get up there, and then the person up there is trash. I mean, so you have to really, really understand that it's important that when Snow White's up in the castle, she's learning how to be a wife. And Snow White's going to have to come out of that castle and put herself in a position to be able to get the man that she wants. All right, everyone, TRTT. Check out these other 2 videos that I got uploaded. The channel is going to be growing, and I hope to see you all watching the next one. Peace.